Welcome everybody to Forza Horizon 4, and today we're taking a look at the 1969 Ferrari Dino 246 GT. Now these were produced by Ferrari, but sold under the Dino marquee from 1969 to 1974, with 3,761 being made. And it was produced in response to the 206 GT, which was the model before this, not having enough power. So they tried to solve that by increasing the engine size. Unfortunately, the weight was also increased due to the body being now made out of steel instead of aluminium, like the T06. All in all, to save on cost, which ultimately meant this car weighed 396 pounds more than the 206, at 2,380 pounds. So, yeah, despite having more power, it ultimately wasn't even all that much quicker because of the extra weight, which is really rather stupid if you ask me, and that's just one of numerous problems with this car. But I'll get into the one good aspect of this vehicle is the fact that it's really rather nicely packaged, because you've got a front compartment there for your spare wheel, which means that you've got plenty of room in the rear for your boot, and therefore plenty of space, and a decent amount of space interior as well, especially considering you're right up against the engine bulkhead there. So yeah, nicely packaged, but everything else is really rather a letdown, especially considering I know it's not sold under Ferrari, but it's well known as being a Ferrari, especially since it does have a Ferrari engine. And ultimately it's poor in comparison to other Ferraris from the same period. And one aspect to that is the fact that the engine is still not quite good enough despite being bigger. It's now a 2.4 litre V6 over the 2 litre V6 in the 206, and it now produces 195 horsepower, 165 pounds-feet of torque. So that's 17 horsepower more than you got in the 206. But like I said, because it weighs more, you're not going to get much extra in performance. And with that extra weight, the handling isn't as good either. And third thing that's wrong with it, the styling. It might well be styled by Pininfarina, but it's easily one of their worst ever designs. It's just, really rather ugly as far as I'm concerned. And I know styling is all opinion based, but it's certainly not a car I've ever grown to love in any way. And this isn't the first time it's been featured on a Forza game. It's been on several Forza games, and I've still not grown to love it whatsoever. I just do not like it whatsoever. It's just incomprehensibly ugly in lots of ways, and it's not like it's something that couldn't have been good looking, because it certainly could have been. Ferraris and even Fiats, which were also partly produced by Fiat in terms of how it was manufactured, produced many a good looking car from the same period. Look at the Fiat Dino, for instance, which shares the engine from this. It looks spectacular, but this just doesn't have the looks going for it whatsoever. Fortunately, at least one good thing came out of this car, and that was the engine, which doesn't quite work in this car, but does work in the Fiat Dino, which I've already mentioned, and it also works in the Lancia Stratos, which is a perfect kind of comparison to this, because it has the same engine. It's got slightly less power, with 190 horsepower, same torque, but because it weighs 219 pounds less, it's actually quicker to 60, quicker to 100, and quicker at the top end in terms of top speed. And it's also a better looking car overall, and it was more versatile in terms of being a rally car. So it's not like if this had less power it wouldn't be any better, because it would be. The handling would be better, the braking would be better, and the acceleration and the performance overall would be better as well. But because he made it out of steel rather than aluminium, purely just to save money, it's just wasted all of that extra power and the larger engine that it was given. But nonetheless, let's get out onto the open road and see what this car can do. So performance really rather lacking, especially like I said in comparison to other Ferraris from the time. And in part it's because of the weight, but also because of the gearing or something regarding to the engine. It's just really rather lacking in terms of performance. The revs just seem to take forever to get up to their rev limit, and it just feels really rather pedestrian despite all of the noise that's going on. And then the handling, it's not much cop either. It's got really rather soft suspension. It seems to want to oversteer more than anything. It would just snap out of your control in no time at all, and it just isn't really all that much fun. And the engine noise isn't all that much cop either. Acceleration is 0 to 60 in 7.9 seconds, 0 to 100 in 21.5 seconds, and then going to a top speed of 145 miles an hour. Decent top speed, no doubt about that. I won't slate it for that, but that 0 to 60 time is really rather woeful. It's only about 0.6 of a second quicker than a Citroen SM, which is a car that was far cheaper than this, far better looking, far more practical, far comfier, far more economical, and yeah, is a car that is actually still really rather quite cool. And that's despite the fact that that vehicle weighs more than this, and yeah, has 21 less horsepower. So yeah, not much copy in comparison to a saloon from the time. And yeah, in comparison to the Stratos, due to it weighing a lot less, it's also far inferior as well, as that can do it 0 to 60 in 1.1 seconds quicker. It can do 0 to 100 in 17.6 seconds. So yeah, that's nearly 4 seconds quicker. And yeah, it will go into a top speed of 147 miles an hour, which is 2 miles an hour more than this. And at the end of the day, that Lancia Stratos looks better than this, and yeah, was, you know, a rally champion. Whereas this was only really built to homologate the engine that it has for racing, which also comes to the fact that this car's engine was more capable in racing. It had in excess of 200 horsepower at times, which just shows, which just begs the question really, why wasn't it given that extra bit of power? Or if they couldn't have given it that extra bit of power, then why on earth would they just prioritise costing over, you know, weight? It just makes no sense to me. It's just a real catalogue of errors really that have just really made this car really underwhelming in comparison to other Ferraris from the same period. And it's not like you don't have a good choice of Ferraris from the same period. You've got your Daytona, you've got your 250 GTO or your 250 GT Lusso, and you know, all these other great cars from that same period to choose from, and I pretty much guarantee they wouldn't have been much more expensive, if any more expensive at all, than this. So yeah, real giant disappointment from Ferrari on this, and yeah, just goes to show that even car makers that make several great cars, even from the same period as another vehicle, aren't invincible when it comes to making vehicles overall. So yeah, real big shame that this wasn't as good as it was, and quite frankly, even if the performance was better, I still wouldn't be able to forgive it in terms of its looks, but at least if it had more power and less weight, it would have been at least a more fun vehicle to drive, but sadly it's not even that. So yeah, I just really don't comprehend why this has been in so many Forza games when, you know, there's plenty of other 60s Ferraris that we've never had before, and quite frankly I'd rather have them over this any day of the week. As yeah, I'm going to swear here, but in simple terms, this is a crock of shit. I'm just going to say I have no qualms in saying that whatsoever about this car. Might well have qualms about other vehicles from Ferrari from the same period, but at least they have one or two things going for them that make them enjoyable to drive or nice to look at, whereas this has none of that. Nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.